What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video on Juniper Rising, and today we're going to be talking about the brand new Destiny 2 Shadowkeep expansion and my thoughts and sort of my review on it. Where does this rank in Bungie's line of work in this franchise so far, and what kind of things could they improve on the expansion, what things or systems do I wish that they would have kept, or great things that they should keep doing in the future. And there's a lot to like about this expansion for sure, but there are things to dislike, so let's get right into it. First things first, I'm going to be talking about the story and the campaign. Minor spoilers ahead. If you haven't played the campaign, I'd highly recommend either playing through it if you have Shadowkeep, or watching a walkthrough or something, or listening to me spoil it for you is always cool if you're alright with that. So, the new area, or the new location destination for Shadowkeep, is the moon, and essentially the moon is being transformed by the Hive. They've erected some sort of a red fortress called the Scarlet Keep, and what your objective is to go into the Scarlet Keep and discover its secrets, see what the Hive's true purpose is behind building such a structure. And the story itself is really short. I believe it's shorter than Forsaken's story. And it also has an incredible amount of padding, as I like to call it, in the story, where instead of playing actual missions before you play the next mission, you are forced to do a little bit of grinding to get your character to the next level. And they also have a few patrol-like missions, things that don't really contribute to the story, but they still pad onto the runtime, so that in a review I can be like, oh, it's a 6-hour story, and that doesn't sound so bad. But really, it's more like 2 to 3 hours of actual story content, which is disappointing. And overall, I think the story was very disappointing, especially since it had such an interesting lead up. And if you guys want me to, I can do a spoiler discussion in the future on what actually we find in the Scarlet Keep and why it's so interesting, and why I'm just ultimately a little disappointed that we didn't get any answers, because it seems like Bungie, over the 5 years of Destiny's history, they've been asking more questions than they've been answering, and that can be a bit frustrating. But also, this end of the story does kind of leave us with the feeling that there is more coming for people who have purchased Shadowkeep. Obviously, we're going to be looking at 4 seasons over the course of this next year. Maybe there'll be story content. The first season, the Season of Undying, has been a blast so far, with lots of activities to do and a really cool in-game event that does occur on the moon. But we'll get into that a little later. First things first, the moon looks incredible, but it's literally stripped straight out of Destiny 1. The layout is almost exactly the same, except for instead of where the Temple of Crota was, you basically have the Scarlet Keep. I believe it's where the Temple of Crota was. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's where they built it on top of. Excuse me. I like that and I don't like that at the same time, with the moon being basically the same map that we got in Destiny 1. Like, there are many screenshots that I could take of gameplay on the moon, and you would be hard pressed to even notice that it wasn't from Destiny 1. That's how similar it is. And when I posed this question to a lot of my friends, a lot of them didn't seem to mind, but honestly, I was kind of hoping for like a different section of the moon. Obviously, it's a big, not planet, but destination potentially. And so I was hoping that maybe we could go to a different sort of side of the moon. I thought that could have been potentially really interesting. The first mission on the moon is actually probably one of the best missions that Bungie has produced for the Destiny franchise so far. It's bombastic and epic, but it's free to everybody. So for those of you who don't know, Destiny 2 has gone free to play this year, which is incredible because Bungie has provided just a smorgasbord of excellent content for the free-to-play players to take advantage of. And I really think that Destiny 2 New Light, which is the name of this new free-to-play Destiny experience, is really the real MVP here, because it's bringing a lot of people into the Destiny universe that otherwise wouldn't have been exposed to it. So it could be new players, returning players, people who were just burnt out on the first Destiny because it wasn't what they wanted it to be, and now they're reluctantly or whatever just coming back in just to see what's changed. And I think a lot of people will be pleasantly surprised if they haven't been back to the Destiny franchise for a long time. It's obviously not a perfect series yet. I don't think it's what people initially thought it was going to be, but if you go into this free-to-play experience with the right expectations, I think you'd be pleasantly surprised. And there are very few other games out there right now that offer this much content for free-to-play players. And honestly, bravo to Bungie for supplying so much meat for this, but also that can go the other way in the fact that since there is so much available for free-to-play players, the players that are actually shelling out the $35, sometimes it kind of feels like we're not getting as much content, which is okay. I'm glad that people who want to play this game without paying any money can have a great experience. But I feel like there's a few aspects where I don't know if Bungie put enough into it to sort of justify buying Shadowkeep. Now, they've also introduced a brand new season system, or like an annual pass, and it's an a la carte system, so you can pick and choose which seasons you purchase instead of just buying an entire annual pass and potentially not being happy with some and being happier with others. You can just pick and choose which ones you purchase. So that's nice, and I could see free-to-play players obviously being introduced to Destiny, picking up and buying these seasons down the line. I think they'll be $10 per season, and the first season, if you buy Shadowkeep, the Season of Undying comes with Shadowkeep, so that's a $10 value there. So essentially you're paying $25 for the story, the new dungeons, a few activities, and that's it. Also the new raid, of course, the new raid, which just came out yesterday. I have not done the raid yet. I've watched the streams of the raid, and to be honest, in my opinion, the raid looks a little lackluster. That final boss battle doesn't look that interesting since it doesn't have much of a story key to it. I have a lot of friends who are very positive about the raid and think the raid looks good. Essentially, it takes place in Vex, the end boss. Oh, wait, I shouldn't be spoiling this. So spoilers ahead for the raid, if you haven't watched the raid yet. The That's terrible. The final boss is some no-name kind of big bad guy, and it takes place in Vex Lake, and the mechanics of this raid look actually really cool. It looks very mechanic heavy, so I might also make a separate video if I ever do the raid, and tell you guys what the raid is like, and see if the raid is worth it. But obviously raiding is a big part of Destiny. That's a big part of the value proposition, and let's say you just don't have a consistent clan or group of friends or something that are going to be online where you can get 6 people together and raid, and you don't feel like going onto the LFG, doing all that work. It can be quite taxing to find people to raid with, and I think that experience ruins it for a lot of people. Then maybe this expansion isn't worth it for you, because a lot of that value is being stressed on the raid. So if you're not a raider, you pretty much have a story that, again, I'd recommend you just watch a walkthrough so you can understand where the story is going. But gameplay wise, it doesn't really add anything new, in my opinion. And the dungeons have not yet to be released. Bungie's done very little to sort of, it's kind of like a Prison of Elders mode as far as I can tell, where you go down, you fight a boss. It's just another cool activity to participate in that's not tied to anything crazy like the raid or trials or anything like that. Again, trials is not coming back. I hope it comes back in one of these seasons, but that's something that I desperately want Bungie to bring back for over a year now, since they've removed trials. It's still not back, unfortunately, but that's just another thing that we can add to the list that Bungie can work on. Okay, let's talk about other things, systems. Armor 2.0, I love it at this point. Sorry, the traffic outside is kind of loud. At this point, I'm not really taking advantage of a lot of the Armor 2.0 systems because I'm still on that power grind right now, but I think that once I kind of get my player to a power level where I find that set of armor that I think looks really cool, the armor systems, I'm just saving up mod components right now so I can really just play with them and get a particular armor set to where I want it to be. And for the first time since like forever, I can actually have a character that I like the look of and I like how it plays. And I think Bungie has done something great here, because Destiny, let's be honest here, Destiny is about enhancing your character, making your character look cool, but also you want your character to be built to play well in the Crucible or PvE or whatever. And it's been very hard to have the best of both worlds with this new Armor 2.0 system. I think we can finally achieve that at long last. Our characters will be to our liking, essentially. So that's cool. Another new thing that they added is the artifact. So every season is going to come with a new artifact. The Season of Undying has a Gate Lord Vex Eye. And as you play and gain XP, one thing I do love about this new expansion is Bungie is stressing XP and the XP grind. So instead of just getting an Eververse engram every time you level up, your XP contributes to bonus power levels, which can be attained through your artifact, which essentially grant your entire character an extra power level through your gear, which is awesome because it can alleviate some of the frustration with the prime engram hunt and things like that, and it always feels like you have a tangible goal. Like if you just keep doing activities, you will get your power level up instead of Bungie saying, okay, you can only do this, 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 and this. I do like that. But also, as you play with this artifact equipped, it will unlock different modifiers and things like that, and these modifiers are legitimately game-changing. One of my favorites is one that allows you to shoot through the shields of barriered enemies, and it's super useful in the new Vex Invasion mode, which I believe, yes, it is available to all players, and it's essentially like this little, almost like a mini raid encounter. So it's kind of like a 3-stage PvE activity. It's really fun. I love it a lot, and you actually get some really good rewards. Even after you hit that soft cap of 900, you'll still find yourself getting slightly, not incredible awards, but it'll be like 1 power level above a certain piece of gear. And sometimes in Destiny, that's all you need as an incentive to keep playing a certain activity. There's lots of great bounties tied to this, and me and my friends just had a blast playing that yesterday, and I love it. So far, Season of Undying is honestly my favorite part of the content that's been released this year. Shadowkeep was a little underwhelming, but the season's great. Season of Undying, it's released some really cool activities, some really cool armor sets, a really cool exotic hand cannon, and just it's awesome. Like, it's kind of turning Destiny to the game I want it to be, where there's hopefully we can constantly get just a trickle of content that's fun to play, new things to chase, new loot to grind for. And yeah, so you might be asking me, where do you place Shadowkeep in the stack of Destiny releases? And that's a very loaded question. That's a very difficult thing to answer because we have to take into consideration the value. So how much are you paying for how much you get? And also, this is a much different content release because this is the first time that the base game is free to play, so there's not that prior investment to get into Shadowkeep, and that can be, that kind of makes the evaluation of this a little different from previous years. And also the fact, like, I've completely transferred over to PC now, and a lot of people will be coming into this for the first time, and Forsaken does not come with Shadowkeep, so this is the first time that I think Rise of Iron did the same thing, never mind, but like, it's not including the previous, and it's not requiring you to have these either, but it's not including the previous expansion. So some people are actually out there playing Shadowkeep content to its full extent and not playing Forsaken if they're switching platforms, or if they're coming into Destiny for the first time and they're just buying Shadowkeep because they like the free-to-play experience or whatever. So that's different. Also, cross-save has been introduced this year. I'm sorry about the traffic, guys. Cross save was introduced this year, and it is a feature that I've been waiting for so long, because ever since I built a PC that is powerful enough to run Destiny 2, I've been kind of playing around with it on battle.net, but it's not my main character, and I've always wanted to play my main character and level up my main character on PC. Now that there's cross save, it's given me the opportunity to do so, and I've completely transferred all my stuff, and PC is now my primary platform. And I've been playing with my clan and things like that, and it's been a blast. So I think that's almost everything I wanted to cover, and it's difficult to evaluate Shadowkeep. The $35 piece of kit that you get for Shadowkeep, in my opinion, is not quite worth it. Essentially, I think the $10 seasons are actually worth it, potentially, because there's a lot of content that you get in there. There's extra loot and things like that, but it's not unfair because the free slot does have pretty much all the main weapons that you want to get. There's just a few extra things that you get for your $10 that might make it worth it to some people, might not, but it's just, I hate to say it, but it's just $10. Like, it's riding the line of whether or not it's worth it or not to me. I think I want to say it's $35 for the entire season pass if you don't buy Shadowkeep, so you get a little bit of a discount there. But overall, the Season of Undying has been a blast. Shadowkeep and basically Bungie reinvigorating the player base has been a blast. So this is the most fun I've had with Destiny in a long time, but it's not necessarily coming from that $35 I paid to get Shadowkeep. If you kind of understand where I'm coming from, is that Bungie's ever since they split from Activision, they must have gotten a little bit more gracious, because that, I tell you what, guys, that free-to-play experience, it's hard to pass up. There is so much content here. And that's what I'm stressing, is if you haven't played Destiny in a while, or if you've never played Destiny and you think that this is a game that might be good for you, give it a try. This game is starting to hit the mainstream. Yesterday on Twitch, Destiny 2 had almost 100,000. It was the top viewed game on Twitch. And I believe second place was Counter-Strike when I checked, and it had like 100,000 more viewers than Counter-Strike. Destiny 2, when Shadowkeep launched, it hit record concurrent player numbers, even when Destiny 1 launched, and it broke sales for a new IP. Like, guys, this game is starting to come into the mainstream. I think people are starting to understand that Destiny has come into its own a little bit, and that there's a lot here. And I think the free-to-play model does suit this game better than the $60 plus microtransactions plus expansions and all yada yada, that model. So anyways, guys, did you buy Shadowkeep? Have you been playing Destiny 2 New Light? Have you been playing Season of Undying? Please let me know down below in the comments. And like this video, subscribe if you want to see more. My verdict for the game is, overall, if we're just evaluating the Shadowkeep expansion, it's probably one of the worst ones in Destiny. I'd say comparing it, let's say Taken King's a 10 out of 10, and something like Curse of Osiris is a 1 out of 10. I'd give Shadowkeep probably a 6. Just being honest with you guys, there's not that much meat on this bone. But this is also another PSA saying that Destiny 2 is now a free-to-play game, and there is so much content here. The reason why the $35 experience is not so great is because the free experience is really great. So Destiny 2 New Light, as free-to-play games go, is probably a 9 out of 10, or a 10 out of 10, potentially. That's just my feelings on the matter. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I definitely enjoyed making it. Please, again, do not forget to like, comment, subscribe down below. And until next time, this is Juniper, signing out.